All right, so as is rituals, hello everyone. I'm Sadir Zala, one of the SIG leads. Welcome to the Kubernetes IBM Cloud SIG meeting today on June 20th. Please keep in mind that this is a public meeting and it's being recorded, and this recording will be made available on YouTube. I have agenda link on the chat, and I see a couple of questions there.
Can you post it again for the folks who came late?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What was that, Brad?
The link again on the chat, because I joined late. I don't see it.
Oh, you don't see the link? Okay, yeah. Give me 1 second. Right there. Morgan, what is the question there?
You handled
When
it.
you go through the agenda, do you share the screen so that people can see what you're talking about as you're going over it?
Yeah, I mean, I can do that. With smaller agenda, smaller crowd, I think we weren't sharing. But let me start sharing my screen, and then we can have a agenda item right here. Start sharing. Yeah. All the things now where it's gonna be right here. All right, guys, can everyone see the screen?
Yep.
I guess. Yep. All right, cool. Yeah, please add your name in the attendees whenever you get a chance. So yeah, our agenda seems lighter, and we can add things as we discuss. I have one thing, but Khalid, I think providing updates on new ICP probably is a better way to start the meeting. So if you wanna go first, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. Let me.
Oh yeah, you
have to unshare.
You wanna share? Yeah, absolutely. Let me stop sharing my screen. Can you share now, please?
Yeah. Okay, can you see the log entry?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of quickly go over this and maybe share a little bit of a demo of some of the features. But this is a little bit dated, I guess, but we actually released ICP 2103 back in May, late May. So it's a few weeks late, but I guess I missed a couple of sessions. So anyway, the kind of new version of ICP has been about 1 year since we initially released ICP last June. And I think we've had like 5 releases in that time. And so this is the latest version, kind of rapidly iterating and maturing the platform and the offering. So one of the, kind of just going over the key capabilities that are in 2103 now. So we did update the Kubernetes version. It's now on 1.10. So I believe that's still the latest version now. In terms of other changes that went into the offering, one of the key changes we made from an architecture point of view was a switch over from the backend database that was used for a lot of the authentication and the Helm and some of the other services from from Cloud into MongoDB. And this has kind of benefits in terms of reduced footprint and kind of more reliable install. So I think it's a good change that was made. We also added support for the container storage interface. It's in beta right now, but so that's a capability that's in the Kubernetes, and we're sort of enabling that so that we can talk to other different storage providers, and we added some enhancements on the vSphere cloud provider, so you can use that and configure your storage. So there are updates to the catalog that allows you to have better views of things like release notes and fixes and those kinds of things. Improvements on the metering side as well, so that you can collect data about usage, about whether it's a VMs or bare metal and so on. You can associate like a product identifier with your Docker images, and that is used in associating the pods and the information collected from those pods to a particular product ID, which is useful in the entitlement type of solutions. One of the key, another set of key areas that we've been focusing on with IBM Cloud Private is on security. So we added a bunch of capabilities in there to make things a bit more secure. So you can manage secrets now through the CLI, so that you can actually change the password of components, like the some of the database services and other services that will automatically restart the pods that need those secrets. Okay, so things like Prometheus and Grafana and some of the management services. Those secrets can be updated after you do the install. We brought over some of the capabilities from IAM on the public cloud to enable service IDs and API keys. So any service running within IBM Cloud Private, you don't have to expose it by node port or whatever. You can basically give access to that service from external entities that might want to interact with it through API keys, and you can set policies and so on associated with that. Audit logging, we basically just it's a smaller improvement, but we have a kind of a formal, if you kind of look at the details of it, we allow the audit log to be structured so that it can be fed into your security and identity management or access management, event management tools. Right? So that's kind of a small enhancement that was made there in the security front.
So, Khalid, on that, what kind of audit information are we collecting?
So basically, it's all the whenever somebody accesses something, all that information is collected and changes something. So any resource identified by a CRN. So whether it's like a pod or namespace and so on, and what action they did, I believe that's logged, right? So all those CRUD operations against those Kubernetes resources so this is basically turning on the Kubernetes audit log.
Are we auditing when somebody logs in and out of the management console?
I'd have to follow up on that, but I would think that we added those capabilities. If it's not there, then it's probably going to be in the future release.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, one of the other things that we did was to enable encryption and end-to-end encryption for the ELK stack. We basically took there's a open source component that adds security to the ELK stack, so we enabled that in there. Okay. So in the other spirit of security, Vulnerability Advisor, before it was a technical preview, it basically is a GA version now. So that's enabled and allows you to scan for images and containers to look for vulnerabilities. Okay. And then GDPR, this is not I don't know all the details of this, but basically we certified that ICP is compliant with GDPR. So you can read about that in the thing. And there's a bunch of other capabilities that we've launched that are still technical previews. Cluster Federation, that's been there for a couple of releases. So the Cluster Federation work, I think they're going on to a V2 version. The V1 version is functional, but it has a bunch of restrictions and doesn't cover a lot of use cases. So that there is work in the community on going towards a V2 version that we're tracking. So that when that is ready, that'll probably be more of a GA kind of thing. One of the capabilities that we've done is enabled experimental support for IPVS. So rather than using IP tables to control the access to the pods and set up the routing rules for intercontainer networking, IPVS is a more scalable solution. But we've kind of been experimenting with that, and we enabled that as a technical preview. We also added support for Istio. It is one of the things that gets set up out of the box if you enable that flag at the installer time. So it'll set up Istio and you can run that thing. Another capability is auto scaling based on custom metrics, so that you can use things like memory rather than just CPU, memory or HTTP transaction metrics and those kinds of things to do the auto scaling. So if you drill into the details of that, basically we're using a Prometheus adapter in the Kubernetes API aggregation layer to enable you to plug in those metrics into Kubernetes. So here's an example of all the metrics that can potentially be used. So we're getting these metrics from Prometheus and feeding that into the Kubernetes HPA horizontal pod autoscaler, right? So you can create an HPA policy that allows you to use Kubernetes or additional metrics, so things like memory and those kinds of. Here's the example, right? We're using memory usage as an example, so that you can use that to configure your auto scaling policy. Okay, go back. One of the other things I think we've not talked about so much in here in this blog, but we did a bunch of work also on scalability testing. I think we've certified it to 1,000 nodes, but probably we can go beyond that now. So that's kind of an overview of it. I can give a quick run through of a visualization of some of the features, like not all of them, maybe a couple of them. So in terms of the team management, one of the things that we added was the ability to control the resource access. So now you can set a team. It's not the best team than the other team I had, that team. So if you look at the resources, you can narrow down which charts are available to members of that team, so that you can do fine-grained controls on access to the various charts. So and also the repos, so you can control which repo and which chart a user has access to in this model. Right. One of the other things that they added was, if you look in the catalog or the Helm releases, the ability, we added these launch links. Sorry. Back to that. Added basically from anywhere in your release or wherever. Let's see if I have one. Liberty. Okay. Liberty. It'll automatically go to the right launch link that you've set up, you've configured. So if it, whether it's using Nodeport or whatever. Okay. so you can access it relatively easily. Before, it was a little bit of a hassle to find where to go after you created. So those are kind of the main features. They added some more capabilities, so you can configure things like secrets and config maps. You can see them in here, right, in the UI, and do operations against it, and so on. So those are kind of the main features. Any questions, comments?
I have one question, Khalid.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And thanks. This was great. A lot of good things to know what's going on, right, from the Kubernetes perspective. You mentioned scalability testing. I was trying to write some the meeting notes, but the scalability testing certified to 1,000 nodes or more. Do we have any documentation created for that? And is it something we can made available to public or no?
I think there was a blog that was published.
I know Guangyia wrote some blog.
Yeah. This one.
Right, but okay, so there's no other documentation there, right? Something I know that's public.
Yeah, I think in the Knowledge Center, there's probably something there. I can follow up on that.
Okay, if you can please. Yeah. The reason I'm asking is, the Kubernetes Scalability SIG, they do have some of the testing criterias and results out there for some of the other cloud provider.
Right.
And I would just want to give something we can share down the road if it's already public.
Yeah, as far as I know, the blog was public, and
Yep.
I don't know if we published any other documentation. I'll ask around.
Okay, great.
Thanks. See if we have that. I know we have internal documentation of what's being done, but other than the blog, I don't know if there's anything officially published.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Good. That's all from me.
All right. Well, that was great. Any other questions? Anyone? Well, if not, then we can move to the next agenda item. And attendees, I will add folks if they're missing, but if you get a chance, please add yourself. I see around 10 people on the call, and attendees are a little bit lower there. So yeah, the second thing is just an updates from what we talked in last SIG meeting about the new cloud provider SIG. So I had a chat a couple of times with Andrew, who is from DigitalOcean and who is one of the SIG lead for the SIG cloud provider. So one of the things we wanted to make sure, and I had to, I wanted to follow up on that was what's the requirement or when we can basically move SIG as part of, as a sub project under the newly created cloud provider SIG. I provided a couple links there. The first one is basically the ongoing PR showing up some of the guidelines there. I was told that, let's just wait before we create any PR ourselves. There are still a few things are under discussions, not finalized yet. So as soon as those things are finalized, we basically can go ahead and try to move our SIG as a sub-project of the higher level cloud provider SIG. All other cloud provider SIGs will be doing the same thing. Some of them are already moved. One other interesting thing, right? We do not have any IBM Cloud specific code, and when I say IBM specific code, control manager, kube control manager kind of things, which is out there for some of the other cloud providers, AWS, Google, Azure, and VMware. So they already have their own repo. I know I did put the link last time, and I can actually add it right here on these. 1 second. just copying the link. Just 1 second. I'm putting in the agenda. And I can actually share the agenda if you like earlier, Morgan was saying. Let me share. So I'm sharing the screen now. So the last link is basically all the cloud provider codes repo out there, and they are moving under this new cloud provider high-level SIG as a sub-project. I know Richard, you know, at least you had interest, right, on having our own cloud-specific manager there, you know, and me too, and I think all of us in a way. The one other thing, as you can see on this link, is it's still under right here. So basically, they says, you know, this directory has been in maintenance mode, and that's where one thing we talked that you know, we probably need to wait until the things are finalized. Seems like there are already some progress made out there, and if you look at the link here, the DigitalOcean one as an example, you know, they already have a repo created for themselves. And again, I got this link while talking with Andrew. As you can see, there's a link available there for Cloud Controller Manager. And some of the code they already have in place. So basically, I was told that you know, for ourselves, since we're not here, right, as part of the other provider code right here. The best way is, and Richard, I think maybe we can take it one-on-one, and before we talk further in the next SIG meeting, Khalid, yourself, myself, Richard. Is, you know, what's the action item here, but we basically, seems like the way going forward is to create our own repo and then eventually move the whole repo to as a sub project to the new SIG. We'll be basically moving the repo under the Kubernetes project, the main GitHub repo. So again, I'll follow up on that for further discussions and how we want to move forward with new code here. But that's something may take some time, but it's something important. I think we definitely want to discuss that. So I wanted to just you know, bring it to everyone's attention here for like a broader discussion or just in updates. But something down the road, we will I guess we'll talk more on this. Does that make sense? Any question there? I think Khalid, Richard, we are good there, right? Having a separate discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have our own cloud provider. We already are doing that. Have our own repo. It's just not out in public domain for IKS.
Oh, okay. Well, that is honestly, that's one thing I didn't know. So if we already have our own repo, I think that makes things a lot easier going forward. So basically what we need to do is as things finalize, we probably need to create a new CAP, that's a Kubernetes Enhancement Proposal, KEP. So we'll create a new CAP and basically move the repo. Richard, you just mentioned, we'll propose to move that repo under Kubernetes, and that should go pretty smooth. Does that?
The repo we have is not open source.
Okay, I see. Well, then we definitely want to make it open source, right? Because if we want them, want those code out there as part of the main Kubernetes repo.
It's something that could be considered for sure. I don't know that we have gone down that route yet.
Okay. Yeah. So let's have that discussed separately, and I guess we can then further talk in upcoming SIG meetings.
So, Zadev, sorry for my ignorance here. So what are those cloud providers doing with this specific code?
Good question. I have the same question.
Yeah, me too.
Well, no, that's a good question. And my understanding is, again, I need to learn more that myself as well, Ed. But as you can see, those providers have their own code enabling controller manager. So basically, all the cloud provider in general have their own requirements. for out-of-the-box support with Kubernetes, right? And those are some of the requirements, and a specific code that is created for individual cloud provider.
Okay, so there's a different behavior when we install on VMware or OpenStack or Google Cloud and all those things. Yeah.
That's true, and that's basically exactly. So it's again, I think, depending on the cloud provider, right, their own interests.
Yeah.
But I think it's basically the support is made available through this thing called Cloud Controller Manager.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And the cloud provider basically have their own controller manager.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, take a look at that.
Sure, thanks. And again, I will study it myself more too. I will discuss with Richard with what we just talked, and Khalid, and see.
Yeah, it sounds like it's about being able to create or provision the Kubernetes clusters for the different cloud providers and set up the underlying IaaS. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and Khalid, I know that we had a situation where we run IBM Cloud Private on the top of VMware. That VMware was taking some behavior of unregistering the nodes from etcd. So that might be part of that code that's specific for VMware. I'm wondering why we need ours. So I heard that there is something that's proprietary to IBM that we are doing. So what do we have on that code right now?
Yeah. I think we need to look at that, right? If there is some stuff going on in the community to standardize how to interface with different cloud providers, then maybe you want to leverage that.
Yeah, let's take it offline and see what we sort of comes to, right? And then we sort of have updates in the next SIG meeting. That makes sense. Yeah, Ed, that sounds good, right? Yeah, Ed, we good there?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Zadeh.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to the next agenda item. That seems from Morgan.
Yo, no, this is just more of an FYI over the last couple of weeks. I mean, it took a lot longer, but right now the API aggregation is enabled in the public IKS, and this is useful for running aggregated API servers, which is one of the ways to extend Kubernetes API, as opposed to the CRDs, TPRs, whatever you have. And one of the things that uses this is, of course, Service Catalog, which I contribute to, and there are many other aggregated API servers, and I just wanted to let you know that it is supported now out of the box when you provision a new cluster. I don't know about what happens if you upgrade a cluster or something, but fresh clusters out of the box, you get that, which is good. And from the bug reports in Service Catalog, I can tell that several other cloud providers do not have this enabled. So we're ahead of the game a little bit on that one. So it's good.
Okay. Pretty cool. Wow, that was a good update, Morgan. Thanks.
You want another one?
Any question? Yeah, sure.
I was talking with one. Apparently, there's an intern on at least working with IKS team, and they are working on getting the KubeMark scalability testing stuff to run. And so, as far as I can tell, in the main Kubernetes repo, the only one that's run against right now is Google. So it would be good to get that in and be number 2 on that. Another head of the game kind of thing. So end of message.
That's good. Um, uh, any anyone any questions for Morgan in general? Okay, so no questions, no no further topic from anyone. Guess if not, then we can call this a meeting and talk in another 2 weeks. All right. Well, thank you
Okay.
so much, everyone. That was it was a good discussions, good meeting.
Thank you.
And see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Yeah.